Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation on the semiotics of karaoke in Vietnam. Today's agenda will be the introduction, my theoretical frameworks, a case study, and a conclusion. So a little bit background information on karaoke is that it was originated in Japan around the 1990s. The story goes that in a bar, one night the singers couldn't come to the show for whatever reasons. But there was a band waiting there to perform. And so the bar owners asked the people there to sing along to the music played by those musicians. And so a form of karaoke was born. Shortly after that, in around the 1995, karaoke was imported in Vietnam and became a very popular form of entertainment that persists till today and continues to develop, as well as a means for people to communicate, to socialize, and to have fun. My motivation in studying the semiotics of karaoke lies in focus on the way my interviewees talk about their experiences in karaoke. And to help me understand that karaoke was both an individual and social interaction, which leads to my argument that there is a performative aspect to karaoke, which is formed from the perceived social and cultural expectations at those karaoke settings. I interview about 19 participants with varying degrees of focal points and duration, to seek to understand how karaoke in Ho Chi Minh City becomes a powerful force that mediates and merges the cultural and social aspects of individuality, performances, and communications. My interviewees include 3 of them are my family members, and the remaining are my friends who are mostly Fulbright students. So I will be clear that the interviewees are, with the exception of my family members, are mainly young people who prefers to go karaoke with their close friends at karaoke shops. My analysis draw mainly from Saussurian semiotics, Kulik's performativity, as well as Goffman's framing and concept of faith to understand the interconnectedness of the senses, of the social and cultural aspects, norms, as well as within the karaoke setting. Firstly, I draw upon Parmentier's ideas and analysis, semiotics, which is divided into indexicality, iconicity, and a common ground, to study my case studies. Indexicality is the physical relationship. In this case, I take singing as a physical usage of the vocal tract. In addition, the vibrations of the sounds correlate with the background music, as well as sounds from the other participants, creating an encompassing aural space that separates the participants within a karaoke room from the outside world. Here, this physical metaphor adds up to the idea that the karaoke setting is a private space where one is not subjected to normal constraints. For example, that one should not scream loudly in public spaces. Iconicity is the relationship between formal aspects. Here I take the physical. Here I take the way that the participants perform when singing, with gestures, with ways of singing, with ways of acting, performing, similar to those of the original singers of the song. With the examples of one interviewee tells that with love songs, everyone would often reenact the wedding scenes. For example, like those on the MV, or another interviewee who describes themselves as putting on a diva appearance. This is explained as stemming from an immersive exposure to pop culture and female singers such as Beyoncé, Lady Gaga, Mariah Carey, etc. Lastly, ground is defined as the in-between element between iconicity and ignicality, which signifies to an individual that this is a sign and should be taken as such. In this case, karaoke serves as the mediator between the mechanical, represented by the karaoke machines, of the screen, the microphones, the stereos, versus the natural, represented by the performers and the audience themselves. Thus, participants interpret karaoke as a space where they can reenact singing performances without being under pressure to professionally excel. Performativity refers to how participants are influenced by the social interaction within the karaoke setting. This largely depends on the individual's understanding and perception, and as well as comfortability of expressing themselves within those settings. However, in all the interviewees, they regard that in a karaoke, a high degree of social acquaintance and acceptance is needed. Thus, most interviewees only go karaoke with family members or friends, and not strangers. Of which, since most interviewees are Fulbright students, young students, most would choose to go to karaoke with their friends at shops on different occasions, as opposed to singing in the family or at somebody else's home for fear of the loud noises. The ones who normally go karaoke with each other are described as close friends, as opposed to normal friends. This term, close friends, is an interesting occurrence that I would like to focus more. I will be conducting a semiotics and linguistic analysis of how my interviewees talk about the people whom they go to karaoke with, close friends. In analyzing this term, I will possibly briefly touch on the interchangeability of roles of the participants as the performer and the audience depends on the context and the interchanging of roles, as well as intermodality expressions, and as well as sensations, because the participants' experiences in karaoke is imbued with the senses, so they are totally immersive. And I argue that all the senses are activated within the karaoke setting, such as the eye sees the performance, the people, or most commonly, the screen, the karaoke screen and lyrics. The ears listen, the mouth drinks, eats, as well as sings or creates sounds that index support and excitement, as well as the touching, the body sensation. The body moves to the sound of the music, as well as doing gestures that index excitement and like highness. And so before going deeply into why the interviewees go with the close friends, I ask them that why do they choose to go to karaoke as opposed to other forms of entertainment? And I received two responses: because it is fun, or because I like to sing, or both. Which leads to close friends, which leads to the question of who do you usually go to karaoke with? And close friends is the answer I receive. So, a deconstruction of close friends. In Vietnamese, bạn thân. Bạn means friends, and thân literally means the body as a noun, or closeness, or close as an adjective. Whoops, I accidentally did not delete the description, so you can ignore that. But close friends points to a certain degree of friendliness and intimacy. The word close friends is roughly translated from Vietnamese bạn thân, and thus the Vietnamese word connotes social connections as formed through physical proximity. So, metaphorically, proximity connotes acquaintance, comfortability, as well as being accepted for who you are. Therefore, closeness in relationship is metaphorically good. In addition, the interviewees see the karaoke as a safe space. Thus, closeness is also a metaphor for the spatiality, which indexes the state of the participants being contained or protected within that karaoke setting. In short, the degree of friendliness differs between people, since the people who go to karaoke are always indexed with sociality or sociability, and thus constrained within this karaoke setting. I argue. I would also argue that in extreme cases, the karaoke room thus becomes an echo chamber. And specifically, the responses I receive of the interviewees' definitions of close friends are presented in the slide. The first one says that they know me from working and spending time with me. There's a history. So it's not only knowing me through one context, but from many experiences. Respondent 2 says that it is to the point that how they, the close friends, sing karaoke or actively compared to normal context rarely surprises you because you have been close to them. And last but not least, One talks of close friends as when you can lose face in front of them. Of the above responses, I would like to draw your attention to the last one that defines close friends as those who you are able to lose face in front of. Here I subtracted Goffman ideas about the key concept face, in which Goffman describes face as both a positive or negative and conscious or subconscious way of expressing oneself, as well as expressing the power imbalance between participants within a communication. To Goffman, one loses face when the projected expression is negatively different from the perceived situation, meaning how one thinks one would act is different from how one actually acts. Thus, Goffman's concept of face revolves around the notions of a definite self, and that one's personality is not concrete but interchangeable in one context to another. So I argue that in the case of the above response, however, shows that the karaoke setting is a very powerful context, capable of positiving the negative connotations of losing face. Roughly translated from Vietnamese, mất hình tượng, meaning that it is not only the face that is lost, but the whole image or self-concept of the individual. However, framed within the karaoke setting, to lose face is to that interviewee and possibly to others as well, I argue. To lose face is a desirable act because karaoke is indexed as a safe place where one can become more extreme than one's normal self, when one can behave more extreme than one's normal performance. In short, the fun and closeness aspects of karaoke refer to how an individual wears a mask which is different from regular context, but nevertheless connotes an intimate openness, experiences expressed between the participants. Yet the mask in turn also conforms, I argue that the mask in turn also conforms to the contextual requirements within the karaoke setting as having to simultaneously be entertained and entertaining to others. This is expressed to some of whom I interviewed, who doesn't show much affinity to karaoke. Quote, I am stressed out about the social expectations embedded within the karaoke settings as having to sing and or entertain. I feel pressurized because those who like to sing fight to be able to sing, and they sing horribly. Out of 10 people that I have to listen to, up to 9 people are bad singers. To me, it's a place for social vices. It's loud, noisy, and the space is cramped, etc. In conclusion, karaoke may not be for everyone, but I argue that it is always a combination of the performativity, the expressivity, through the linguistics and the sonics aspects of the karaoke itself. Thus, I argue that the karaoke settings give rise to specific performative and expressive ways of living and experiencing that are both sonically and linguistically potent. In adapting to the Vietnamese linguistics-based culture, karaoke becomes a powerful force that mediates and merges both the linguistic and the sonic aspects of music. And whatever your thoughts are on karaoke, it's important to understand and empathize with the social aspect of karaoke and understand that karaoke is a very powerful context which gives the people who are comfortable with that setting space in which they can freely express themselves. Thank you for listening, and feel free to comment with your thoughts and feedbacks in the comments below.